Okay.
Okay, the meeting will come to order.
Have these water parks now. It's boring.
Okay, roll call. We have 4 council people present. Randy is not here now, right now. Now, the next item is the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Cindy, second by Justin. Approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we're into the consent agenda. And this, the single motion will take care of all the minutes, the treasury report, claims, and all that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Janelle,
Second.
second by Cindy to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, before, okay, never mind. There's a last minute bill I forgot to tell you about to Martin's Welding for $153.85. Sorry. Hi, come on in.
There's one up there.
Okay, I was gonna say, you can sit here, you look more important than I do.
No, I'm not. He's got a suitcase full of beer. Are you going to tell him that?
Yeah. I'll take this.
Okay, action items, power supply issues. Don Kazewski.
That's me.
Welcome, John.
Thank you, glad to be here. And just so everybody knows, I basically printed these out this morning and haven't shared them with anyone. So I haven't talked to the power suppliers about these results. I haven't talked to, I mean, you're all seeing this for the first time. And I apologize for that. I'd like to usually send this out in advance, but given the short time frame from when we got the
Thank you.
proposals to tonight, didn't have a chance to do that. I'm also, it's in the form of a presentation as opposed to a letter report. I plan to, after tonight's meeting, put this into more of a written narrative format with the recommendations. Just again, because of the time frame and because of the, I felt it better to prepare a presentation with the information. And I can answer any questions you're going to have about this. And some of the stuff is, like I said, just because of the time frame and going through the evaluation. I was on the phone. If you came into the meeting at 5:15, I was on the phone with the attorney going through his comments on this. So some of yes.
Do you have extras?
Yeah, I do.
Can I give one to my husband? He used to be mayor for 17 years.
Oh, thank
And
you.
he can just follow along.
That's fine. Anybody else want? Oh, come on, this is really interesting. You want? No, here. All right. Purpose of my presentation, just to go through the updated results of the power supply evaluation. We had a proposal from Mid-American that was for both O&M and power supply. And I'm also going to update you on conversations with the attorney that was hired to review the power contract, provide his comments, and his letter is in process of being written. It should have it done tomorrow or Wednesday morning. I also did have a conversation with Heartland. Their board meeting has been deferred through September 22nd, so we have a little more time with them to get the contract done before their board meeting. They would still need an indication as to whether, and like I said, this is all just by way of background, just to give you a status of that. Still ultimately your decision. No decisions have been made. I just want to review the numbers with you so everybody's clear what we're looking at. And also Nancy provided some comments and questions last week, which I greatly appreciate. I put together some slides to hopefully outline some, to show you all what the differences are, which parts are fixed, which parts are variable, which parts I made assumptions on, what assumptions I made on that. Just to be clear, I mean, I've done a number of these analyses. I appreciate the concern. I appreciate the input on this. And the problem is I don't have a perfect crystal ball. And anybody who tells you they have a perfect crystal ball, whether it's a power supplier or a consultant or anyone, they don't. Because if they did, they wouldn't be working for a utility. They wouldn't be a consultant. They would be sitting on the golf course talking to their broker every 10 minutes. And but anyway, we'll get into that. I'm going into some, anyway. Background, we had the additional proposal. What I did was I compared that additional proposal to the proposals we've already received. The Heartland proposal, we had a proposal for me that was still valid. And just by way of comparison, I did the Raccoon Valley proposal, which was withdrawn, as you know. So, we had from Mid-American a proposal to provide operation and maintenance services. That I looked at that. One aspect of their proposal was that they tied the power supply and the O&M together. So you can't just say, all right, we want you to do the O&M or we want you to do the power supply. They said it's an all or nothing proposition. They also provided just an indicative offer to consider selling the system to them and provide retail. They did not provide any costs for that. They just provided an expression, I'll call it an expression of interest, for lack of a better way of saying it. They provided some retail rate comparisons which show that retail rates are lower. They did not provide any other financial background or any indication of how much they would be willing to pay for the system, but they did provide that indication. A review of that was beyond my scope for this study, but I did look over it and say, yeah, they did offer it. That would be a city council decision as to whether you'd want to pursue that. That's outside of my scope.
And John, if I can add, this process where we have another meeting tomorrow or Wednesday evening to actually make the decision, we can go back we can basically use you to go back with specific questions on any of these proposals,
Right.
including the issue about whether or not O&M can be
Unbundled,
unlatched.
right.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely.
great.
And yeah, we'll talk about that separate. I want to go through everything.
Sure.
And that's a good point. I mean, this has been a complicated process. I think that just to be clear too, I mean, I don't have to buy the power from the city. I don't have to pay these rates. But what I do want, believe me, I want your customers. I want to do what's right for your customers. I want to make a good recommendation and help the city do what's right for its customers. That's the reason that after I indicated I felt my work was done, that's the reason I accepted your request to come back and work. I have worked for municipal utilities either as a power supplier or consultant for my entire career, 22 years. I believe in the public power model. But at the same time, I have an obligation to do what's right for you, recommend what's right for your retail customers. And I firmly believe that when we go through these numbers, you'll see where everything shakes out. I think the decision should be fairly obvious where you need to go. But ultimately, it's your decision. You're the folks that have to pay these rates. You're the folks that have to live with the neighbors, and you're the ones that have to face your ratepayers after the end of this process. So I'm just going to go. Since it's been since January, I just wanted to remind everybody where these proposals came down and what the status of them was. AEP, they offered a very short-term agreement that actually was the lowest economically.
AEP was?
American Electric Power. It's a power marketing affiliate of probably one of the 5 largest utilities in the country. They're headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. They were the selected power supplier for the city of Guttenberg. Guttenberg is about a 4.5 megawatt utility over on the Mississippi River. They had been purchasing their power total requirements from Alliant. The AEP proposal saved them about 25% on their power bill. They went from like 1.6 million to about 1.2 million. It was a 4-year agreement. As they started looking at it and started going through it, they decided we're concerned about the size, we're concerned about how we hedge it in MISO. It would be the only load they have on the Mid-American system. So they said, you know, we're sorry that we have to do this, we have to withdraw the proposal, which is fine. They weren't my recommendation anyway. It was a 4-year agreement. You'd be going through this process, dealing with lawyers and consultants and all this again in 4 years. And when you start to look at the cost benefit, it just didn't make a lot of sense considering we had these other options. Raccoon Valley and, you know, of course, their wholesale suppliers, Corn Belt, they provided separately a power supply proposal, which I evaluated in January. Subsequent to that, they provided a proposal to do the O&M. You've been operating without an agreement for a while now. Their proposal was for O&M. I thought it appeared to be reasonable, a reasonable approach. One part about it, they wanted to charge a retainer, a monthly retainer fee. That was about $500 a month, I believe. And then on top of that, any service calls would be extra. You've had fairly limited, I mean, as I was looking through the hours, you've had a fairly limited number of service calls over the last few years. Yeah, so the retainer would be an additional cost that you're not paying now, but it's certainly, when I compare it to what it would cost you to staff up with a bucket truck and 2 linemen and go through all that, it was a reasonable approach. Even if you coupled the RVEC O&M with the Heartland power supply with the $500, it still appeared to be a reasonable approach and would save you money compared to what you're paying Raccoon Valley now. And we'll go through the economics here in a little bit. On August 21st, we received a letter, the city received a letter from Raccoon Valley indicating that their power supply proposal was no longer valid, their O&M proposal was no longer valid. And so the comparisons I'm doing here are based as if they were to still be valid, and recognizing that may not be the case. And I think we need to operate under the assumption that they're not. But they would give you an indication of where your power costs are compared to Raccoon Valley. I think that can give you an order of magnitude difference there. Any questions about that? Do you have anything to add on the withdrawal of the?
No.
Okay.
No.
Did I accurately?
Yes, you did. The only, and maybe you'll get there eventually. Maybe we didn't share this with you accurately. Raccoon Valley, before they withdraw, had offered some pretty significant discounts in the first 3 years of a renewal contract that won't be reflected in.
That is correct.
These numbers.
I have not received.
Yeah.
I did not receive those numbers. I was not privy to that information. And
And we didn't. We had to be real clear. We had the promise of a discount, but not an actual dollar figure. We had like a percent. The dollar they threw at me was 30,000 over the course of the contract, but there was nothing as what I would call real concrete with that I could just.
We simply didn't have it on paper either.
But that is maybe
yes.
in the wind out there.
Okay. All right.
Well, when you say in the wind, Nancy, you're saying that maybe they're a viable provider?
I don't think I want to go quite that far.
We'll keep it in the wind then.
That's why I said it's in the wind.
Okay.
You can still smell it.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Mean really quick. They are a wholesale agency out of Lincoln, Nebraska. They serve a number of communities around here, including Breda. I can't remember if it's Lakeview or Wall Lake. I think it's Wall Lake.
Wall Lake.
Yep. They serve some other ones like Indianola, Waverly. Trying to think. I used to work for Mean, so it's been about 6 years. So I know they've added some other ones. They offered a 10-year service schedule K agreement, summer-winter rate structure. They've been going through some rate changes recently. They had a 13% rate increase April 1st of this year. Their board just passed another 6% increase November 1st of 2014. They've told their members they're expecting another 10% increase in April of 2015.
Will that apply to anything, if we were to consider them, would that apply?
That I don't have the 6% increase or the 10% increase in my projections.
But you do have the 13.
I do have the
Okay.
13%
Okay.
in there. Their 13% increase was proposed in December of 2013. I incorporated that into the report that I gave you in January of
Okay.
2014. Okay?
So are they still a viable option?
They are still a viable option.
They just don't have this update, which is obviously a pretty
They're,
crucial update.
they are a technically viable option.
Technical.
I'll say.
They're a little closer than in the wind.
They have not withdrawn their proposal. Let's see, last time I spoke with them on this particular was, and frankly, they've not officially withdrawn it. I spoke with them, I believe, in May.
Yeah, and we
They
haven't
asked-
officially told them we've gone anywhere else either.
At that
so-
time, they asked what the status was of that, and they said, well, we'd still be interested in serving them if you came to that. I said we were in the process, at that point we were negotiating with Heartland, so I didn't officially throw them out. Like I said, technically viable, yes. Economically, probably not. We'll talk about the numbers here in a little bit. Heartland Consumer Power District. They offered a 5 and a 10-year agreement. They're still valid. They indicated, I spoke with John Knapczynski on the phone just now, indicated where we were at, that we were going to be meeting tonight. Their proposal is still valid. They provided their agreement form to me last week, which was shared with 2 weeks ago now, that was shared with Ivan, and there were some issues there, some differences of opinion with Mr. Frank, as we've documented. In talking to Steve Nadel, who's an associate of Ivan Weber's tonight, there were 3 provisions that he would like to see cleaned up. I would characterize, and he's providing a letter to this effect either tomorrow or Wednesday. Nothing that he would characterize as a deal breaker. They are, and I'm going to butcher this really bad because I'm not a lawyer, but the 3 provisions with regard to the conflict of law, he's generally okay with South Dakota law being the governing factor for the agreement, except for those provisions where you as a city explicitly have to be subject to Iowa law.
Okay.
And so, provided that exclusion is still there, and provided that there's nothing in South Dakota law that precludes that from occurring, and he's doing some research and providing some comments, he would recommend that it's okay, and he'll talk to Mr. Frank and say, this appears to be reasonable. Second thing, and this is a relatively minor thing, which, and talking to John, he understands and he thinks John Knapczynski's the guy I've been working with. Heartland had agreed that the venue for any litigation arising from this agreement would be Sioux City Federal District Court. One thing that Mr. Nadel pointed out, if there's something that the federal court were to say, this is great, we don't have jurisdiction over it, we throw the case out, then where does it get tried? So in that case, what Steve said is he would like to see a clause added that would say, in the event the federal district court does not have jurisdiction over this matter, the case would be tried in Woodbury, or the District Court of Iowa in Woodbury County. Basically, Sioux City State District Court. And as I talked to John Knapczynski about that, he said, yeah, he understands that, and we talked to their attorney, but basically what we want is to make sure that it doesn't get thrown back, because if the federal district court refuses to take the case because it doesn't have jurisdiction, we don't want it to get thrown back to Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Or Washington, D.C.
Or Washington, D.C. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
What are the odds of, I know that it's always possible,
Right.
but what are the odds, in your experience, of litigation?
That's a good question. And that's a legitimate question. And I'm just trying to think here. As a consultant, I've been involved in probably 30 of these agreements. In the ones I've been a consultant for, I've never has any one of those been litigated. Except, the only exception to that would be where an investor-owned utility was selling to a municipal and there was rate litigation at FERC. So that's not what we're talking about here, though. We're talking about a municipal agency with a municipal. In terms of municipal agency with a city having litigation occur one time in 22 years. And in that particular case, and I'm trying to remember the specifics of it, is like 15 or 16 years ago. And it was a very, and that was out of 65 mean cities. We had one city sued, and it was over, and it wasn't over anything significant.
Non-payment.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was
Kind of the basic functions that.
It was an arcane provision about the rates and how the rates were. It was a rate. Really, what it came down to was a rate dispute. The city didn't agree with the way Mean was setting rates. Mean said we're doing it the way the law says we're supposed to do it. Mean won basically on that legal provision that we set our rates fair, reasonable, non-discriminatory. But I guess the thing I would point out, all the disputes I've been involved with, the two were involved with rates specifically. And in this case, the rates are fixed. The Heartland is proposing are set by contract. So that shouldn't be an issue with the Heartland agreement. Because, and we'll talk about when I get to this graph.
Okay.
Okay?
Just to interrupt you, John, I think when you were talking about your first point, conflict of law, South Dakota, except where the city is subject to Iowa law, that would be that waiver of municipality that Rick had said we shouldn't agree to. That, I think, is what he's talking about there.
That's one of them.
That one point kind of takes care of both of those.
It does, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, all right, and I kind of, we've got the legal concerns about the agreement. My cost evaluation shows, and we'll get to them here in a second after. Let me talk about the Mid-American, so keep you all in suspense here. Mid-American offered a 3-year fixed price power supply proposal. It offered cost-based O&M agreement. It's basically what their internal loaded costs for O&M are plus 10%. As I said earlier, the two agreements are tied together the way they initially proposed it. So you'd have to do an all or nothing with Mid-American under this arrangement. Those costs are higher than what Heartland's proposed. I'll show you just how much here in a little bit. This gets to the point you were asking about fixed versus escalating versus what I've made assumptions on. All right. Heartland and Mid-American's proposals are fixed for the capacity and energy part, are fixed price proposals.
Capacity and energy are the same as power?
You're totally, yeah, it's basically
Okay.
the power, yeah.
Okay.
It's your demand and it's what you currently, with Raccoon Valley, you pay demand and energy or capacity and energy on your bill.
Demand, energy, and transmission.
Demand, energy, and
Yeah.
transmission. It'd be the
Yeah.
demand and energy components.
Okay.
And when I say it's fixed price, for MEC, they've said, we're going to charge you this much a kilowatt hour for your energy, no demand charge. This is how much it is in 2015. This is how much it is in 2016. This is how much it is in 2017. It's not subject to change. They can't go to a IUB for rate case or FERC for rate case. It's fixed.
Any legislation, nothing, it's fixed?
It's, in Mid-American's case, it is
Okay.
fixed. Heartland has agreed, that's a good point out, and that comes to something I was just talking about with Heartland. I didn't get to the third issue I had with Heartland, though.
Okay.
The third legal issue that Steve raised was there's a provision in the Heartland agreement, and it's really, okay, that states that their proposal is based on current law and the fact that Iowa does not currently have a renewable portfolio standard or any energy portfolio or advanced energy and there's always a potential for that through legislation to occur. Heartland's proposal says if that happens, we will work with you to come up with a way to serve it, but you'll pay those costs. So if you have to go out and buy renewable energy credits or green tags, then we'll go out and buy those, but we're going to pass those costs through to you because we don't know what they are. I mean, if somebody's...
So legislation got passed that says now everybody has to buy a certain percentage of renewable fuel for their power.
Right. Heartland would pass through those costs,
Whatever.
whatever those would be. That's correct.
Okay.
Now, in the thing with the Heartland proposal, they're not obligated to do that. So, but you have a total requirement. It's a little hole, I'll say, or a continuity issue in the agreement that Steve pointed out. Is we need to make sure that, okay, Heartland doesn't have the obligation to do it under the pricing scheme as it is now. They will work with you to do it, but there's not an obligation on their part to work with you to do it. So let's say let's say that they don't work, and it's implied, but it's not explicit. I'll say, if they work with you, but you can't come to an agreement to have them do it, you still have the obligation to comply with the law. Mm-hmm. Are they going? And if you go out and let's say you put in a solar panel to comply with the law, is Heartland going to come back and say, you're in violation of the total requirements agreement because you put the solar panel in when you did it just to comply with the law?
Yeah, and we do need to work that out.
And Steve has proposed, like I said,
language to deal with it.
Steve is going to propose some language to deal with it. I pointed it out to John. He understood the concern, and I think we can, it's implied, but it's not explicit.
Yeah.
I think you will be able to comply with the law.
Okay, but the attorney's on it.
The attorney's on it.
We're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay.
All right.
If we go with Heartland, we're going to be okay on that one. But yeah, okay. So, all right. Talking about fixed versus escalating. Yeah, Heartland, their proposal, it's a demand and energy rate similar to what you pay Raccoon Valley. It's fixed for 10 years. Yes, it goes up a percentage each year, but the rate is set by contract. It will go in 2024, the rate that I modeled for their demand and energy is the rate that's in the contract, and it cannot go up except for this change in law. If you have to go out and buy renewables, or they go out and buy renewables for your behalf.
Now, council hasn't seen the pricing structure that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And just for your information, what he's talking about in the Heartland proposal is in the 10-year agreement, beginning January of 16 and each January thereafter, demand should escalate, and it's not will, it's should.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means exactly, 5%. And in beginning the same period and each January after, then the energy price should escalate 2.5%.
Is that the proposal or the agreement?
This is the proposal.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
The
this is
agreement-
the original
right.
that they sent us.
Right, yeah, and the way the agreement is written, there's a rate schedule that has the demand going up that percentage.
Yeah.
And this agreement materialized when you were in negotiation?
That's correct.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's why, all right.
Yeah, right. The only exception to that is they did lower the demand rate by a slight amount in the first 2 years.
Even better.
What's that?
Even better.
Yeah.
We'll always take lower.
Right, yeah, so there's a fixed schedule that's part of the contract.
And you're going to translate what that means to us?
Yes, financially.
Okay.
Yeah, financially. So, then go back to let's talk about Raccoon Valley and Mean. Their proposals are both what I would call a cost-based agreement. We know what the rate is now. In Mean's case, we know what the rate is. You know, from their service schedule, K rate schedule with Raccoon Valley, they have a set rate. But those costs are subject to escalation as their costs go up. In the case of Mean, if it's fuel costs, as demand costs, as labor, O&M internal costs go up, they'll look at their costs each year and say, we need to raise rates 12%, 15%, 5%, and pass those costs through to their Service Schedule K customers.
So if their coal generation is suddenly taken offline, then any additional, some sort of hiccup in the system like that there isn't any contractual protection we have.
There's no cap on the rate. I mean, let's say that, well, here's a good example. They had an issue last year where they were using the transmission system without paying for it in Nebraska. And they were sent a letter by the transmission provider saying, you were using our system and you weren't paying for it, including penalties, you owe us $20 million.
Ouch.
I'd like to get that bill.
In the course of negotiations and review of everything, the parties agreed for a number much less than that. Mean said, Mean ended up paying about a $6.7 million settlement on that unauthorized use. So they avoided some of the penalties that were associated in the interest, but they did end up paying $6.7 million. They turned around and passed that through to each of their customers based on their ratio of what they are. City of Breda got a share of that. You know, all these towns are, Wall Lake got a share of that, and they're going to be paying on that for the next 5 years. If you're part of Mean, and it's not just Mean. Heartland, if you were Missouri River Energy Services, the city of Denison is a customer of theirs. If they had something like that happen, they'd be on the hook for it.
And the same happens with us with our WAPA allocation. If they have a drought up north and they have to go buy power, we have on our bill a drought adder. So yes, that is not unheard of.
Yeah, and Mean, somebody's got to pay their bills.
Exactly.
In their case, it's the customers that have the total requirements.
Okay.
And Raccoon Valley is the same way. If something were to happen and they were to have a significant increase, if Corn Belt were to have something to happen that they paid a large fine and they passed it through to their co-ops, then an RVEC would be in a position where they would have to pass that through as well. So that's the distinction really between the Heartland and MEC proposals, which are fixed price. If MEC makes a mistake or Heartland makes a mistake with their SPP transmission or something like that, too bad, so sad. They're still selling it to you for a fixed price. Same with Mid-American.
Now, does Mid-American have the increase each year, the percentage increase each year?
There is an escalation included. Yeah, there's a fixed energy price for each of the 3 years in their proposal. So, all right. Now, there's another thing here with regard to pass-through. This is another question you had, Nancy, and I just wanted to clarify how this works. Every proposal has some element of a pass-through of charges for MISO. The RVEC has the lowest amount of that because the only part they pass through is the part related to your WAPA allocation. They have a rate for transmission that covers the rest of the MISO charges.
Actually, Raccoon Valley does not pass through those. We get that separate bill from Corn Belt.
Well, yeah, when I say it's a pass-through, you're paying the cost.
But we're just paying the cost based on the
based
actual.
On the way, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they pay it, you pay them.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Heartland, the MEC, and the Mean proposals all would include passing through MISO costs for your entire load, including your WAPA allocation.
Okay, so not just the WAPA allocation, any MISO costs based on our all load. Requirements would also be a pass-through. So that's kind of...
It's a little different than what you have right now.
Yeah.
And I'll explain how I've treated those costs.
I knew you had a way to do that.
Is it an added cost or is it a replacement cost?
It replaces...
The cost that Raccoon Valley has.
Right now, Raccoon Valley has a 230, I guess, I can't remember. On your bill right now, there's a transmission cost, certain dollar per kilowatt, right? The number's escaping me right now.
That's all right, 17 something.
Yep. That would go away when under Mean, Heartland, or MEC because you're going to be taking it all comes through MEC on the MISO system. That's the way they all
Really?
propose.
Because see, that's, just for your information, that's at least a third of our bill.
Yeah. That,
Sometimes
But then that
closer
would
to
be
half.
replaced with the MISO cost.
that gets replaced with MISO costs, and the costs end up
And
being-
MISO could be actually lower than what Corn Belt and REC are charging us for
Right.
transmission.
the current MISO rate plus then you have the wholesale distribution service for the substation, which those two added together are about what you're paying for transmission right now.
Okay, but
So-
not transmission plus the cost of that, which
That's
is
right.
what we're paying, okay,
That's right.
okay.
That's right. So it's almost a direct offset between the two. I don't have the exact number, but it was when I was going through and preparing these slides. One was 38,000 a year, and the other was 35,000 a year. I mean, it was within $3,000. Now, I want to make clear too, though, MISO's costs / MEC's transmission costs are going up quite a bit over the next few years. They're going to get a large cost allocation on new facilities they're building, called, you probably heard about the multi-value, I know you probably heard about multi-value projects. And they're estimating an increase of about 10% next year to cover that, another 5% the next year, and they got some escalation. I've included escalation for that, for your WAPA transmission, for the RVEC one. And I've also included it for your total power costs for the MEC, the Heartland, and the mean proposals. So, yeah, it's going to be fairly significant. I mean,
But those increases, how does that affect the fixed price from MEC?
it doesn't affect the fixed price from MEC because they're passing,
Right.
the transmission
Okay.
gets passed through. As transmission goes up,
I see.
yeah. So in all of the cases, you're going to, in the Heartland mean, Heartland, MEC, and mean, it's going to be a total pass-through of your MISO costs. In the RVC, it's going to still be a pass-through on your WAP allocation piece, and then you're going to pay that rate, and then that'll escalate over time. So, does that make sense?
Yes, but the final analysis is, it's gonna be pretty much a push
Between
between
the
what
two.
we have
Right.
had
That's
and
correct.
what we might
That is
have
correct.
between these three.
Right. That is what it appears. And like I said, that's pending, anything that might happen with MISO and MEC's rates. You're going to be bound to MEC because
We're always gonna be bound to them unless we had talked, Raccoon Valley had talked about building a substation to service.
Right.
And until then, and we're still, it's pretty hard to get away from MEC regardless.
Yeah, because they own the last mile. I mean, like I said, you can build your own substation. Now, one thing that I will, you raised the question about Southwest Power Pool and the WAP allocation. If Corn Belt is part of Southwest Power Pool somehow,
They are,
if Corn Belt joins Southwest Power Pool through WAPA,
I think they'll have to because didn't the letter say Basin's going to Southwest?
yes.
Corn Belt is part of Basin. So that whole system will go to Southwest,
In
right?
that case, you may be better off building that stuff. And like I said, you would need to do an economic assessment of Corn Belt's transmission rates versus what you're paying for this substation. You may be better off going back through Corn Belt to get to WAPA, and then have all your, and then Heartland has resources. Heartland's joining Southwest Power.
Yeah, I
too.
saw that too.
And that's just for their transmission. They have a little bit of transmission in their system. It may be worth looking at building your own substation or working with Raccoon Valley to build it where you pay them. Or there's a lot of ways you can do it, but avoid paying the $1,000 a month, or I can't.
$1,700 right now.
Out there, and do it through. You do it directly through Raccoon Valley / Corn Belt. That's just a separate economic assessment that you want to.
Yeah, that's way separate, but with all of those going to Southwest, the only place then we would have MISO charges we would avoid MISO charges if we were to do that.
That's correct.
Unless we sign a contract with Mid-American, and then that isn't gonna happen.
Yeah, if you sign the contract with Mid-American, yeah. Yeah, if you sign the contract with Mid-American, basically everything's gonna come that way. There's no value to doing anything through Corn Belt.
No.
Anymore, that I agree with. All right, any more questions on that? Let me see what else here. I just explained all this. One thing I wanted to point out on the MEC proposal was they had a fixed price for the capacity and energy, and then they included a fixed adder of 1.4 cents a kilowatt hour for what they call MISO administration costs. So that had to get added into the power supply costs of their proposal. So I added that as a power supply cost. It'd be in the power supply element of the proposal. So
You just broke it out so we knew.
right.
Got it.
Okay. I've done, in this table here, I have MEC and their power cost proposal in the far left column. And none of these include distribution O&M. This is just power supply costs. First year, and like I said, MEC is just a 3-year proposal. $179,000 for, and this includes purchase power costs, MISO charges, direct assignment facility,
Totally.
everything. Everything to get it to the meter at the edge of town.
And no O&M.
But nothing internal to the city, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So present value, I mean, you see what the cost would be, about $179,000 first year. Like I said, they have a fixed price proposal, but it has escalation in it, so it goes up $193,000 year 2, $215,000 in year 3. The Heartland 10-year proposal, these are the first 3 years of their proposal here. And these include all the MISO costs, all that. Heartland's $144,000 roughly in the first year. Then you see that cost escalation for their proposal plus some of the MISO cost increases. By way of comparison, I'm also including on the far right column, although it's been withdrawn, the RVEC proposal, based on the original pricing. This doesn't include any discounts that may have been proposed subsequent to my original evaluation.
Well, and I think that's even though it's been withdrawn, I think it's a starting place because it is what we're currently paying.
That's a very good point. If you were to compare the far left column to the other two, that would give you a sense of what their costs are. And the Heartland proposal is lower cost than the MEC proposal. Nobody from Mid-American here, is there?
No,
Okay.
you're okay.
All right. After the representations that were made to me in the run up to this, I was disappointed in what they proposed for power costs. They're not even in the market of what, for a 3-year fixed price proposal, and I haven't expressed this to them yet, I wanted to visit with you all about it. I was disappointed. I mean, it was almost like they said, yeah, if we can get this out of them, great. If we can't, yeah. And that's not to say they wouldn't come off with these numbers if I went back and said, Barry, Michael, Mr. Furman, what are you smoking?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to say they wouldn't do that.
But they probably aren't coming down to the Heartland numbers.
I can't say that they would.
And just for your information, when the council did this bid process 11 or 12 years ago, Mid-American did exactly the same thing.
Okay.
They canceled the contract, came in finally and gave a bid, and then were significantly higher than everybody else.
Well, I think the other theory I have on that, it's very clear they would like to purchase your system.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they may have done this to improve the, you know, if,
How that looks,
yeah,
more or less.
to improve how that option looks. And I don't blame them, I mean, they're businessmen. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
you know, that's what they do.
Warren Buffett gonna get rich then.
Well,
Yeah.
when you own the railroad,
Yeah,
and you own the utility, and you own
Sounds like monopoly, doesn't it?
most of the ground.
you own the gas systems, the gas
Yeah.
pipelines, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're you got to admire the guy. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
but at the same time, you've got customers to worry about.
Yeah, we do.
You're not here to make Warren Buffett rich.
No.
You're here to take care of your customers and your residents.
He's already rich.
All right. And here at the bottom, this, and I've done this for 3 different years. I did it for 2015, I've done it for 2020, 2024. And the way I color coded this, the green is your WAP allocation, and that pretty much stays the same on all the proposals. The top line is the transmission estimated cost, so that gets adjusted. You know, that's based on whoever the transmission provider is. And on the bottom bar, the bottom part of it, the red ones, those are fixed prices, and the blue ones, those are the ones that are cost-based. So in these cases, the blue one, if means rates or RVC's rates have to go up to cover their costs, those are subject to change. So you can see how
Say that again, John.
okay. The red ones,
Yes,
those are fixed.
okay.
Those are fixed price proposals.
So
They're
the
set
blue
by
ones
they're
would,
set by contract. The blue ones are cost based, so they
Okay.
could go up or down based on how they're. I mean, I say it could go down, but I mean reality is
They're not.
It's never gonna.
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's for 2015, and I tried to do this just to based on the conversation we had via email, to just show you how much of this is really subject to change and how much of it's subject to pass through. So
I would like to point out to council, if you look at these 3 bar graphs, if you notice the MEC proposal in 2015 is right at 200,000. When you get over to 2024, the Heartland contract is just a little above that. In 10 years, your costs are going to be about what you would pay the first year of the Mid-American contract.
right, yeah, that's a valid point. Like I said, I was disappointed, I mean, for lack of a better way of saying it. And any questions on the cost comparisons? Yes.
You said with the Heartland it was a 5 or a 10-year contract?
They offered 2 different contracts. They offered,
And this is analysis of the 10-year?
this is an analysis of the 10-year.
Okay.
The 5-year is actually lower cost because it has a lower escalation rate for the first 5 years. The 5-year had a 2.5% escalation rate as opposed to the 5% escalation rate. So what would happen is, I'm going to just borrow this real quick. Oh.
Yeah, that's why I pitched that one.
Okay.
That was a trap.
And for lack of a better way of doing this, they both have the same starting point. I'm not an artist. That's why I use
No, you
spreadsheets.
aren't, John.
This would be the equivalent of a 5-year. It has a 2.5% escalation rate, whereas the 10-year has a 5% escalation rate all the way out. So it's
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to go up quicker, but you have the prices locked in
For another
for
5
10
years.
for another 5 years, and you don't have to go through this process. And one thing, as I talked to Stanhope, I'd recommend this approach with Stanhope as well.
The city of Stanhope.
The city of Stanhope, yeah. I'm sorry, the city of Stanhope. There's been a lot that's happened in the last 5 years, 6 years in the power industry. And none of those things have resulted in lower prices going forward. There's been EPA legislation, or proposed regulations. You've had legislation that has served to increase costs. 111D came out since I did this process with you all in January, and that is going to probably reduce the amount of coal generation that is used in Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota by anywhere from 15 to 30%. That has to be replaced with something else, and it's probably going to be more expensive. That, I think, based on those things, having that commitment for the 10 years and knowing this is what you're going to pay, and as Nancy pointed out, even in the 10th year, what Heartland's proposed is still lower than what MEC proposed in the first year. So, you know, those are reasons, and then just the process of going through this RFP and negotiating and paying lawyers and consultants.
Well, and we had kind of agreed early on that, you know, you guys weren't really interested in the short-term agreements, that we were very interested in the long-term because we didn't want to be back in this position a year from now.
So you're paying a little more with the escalation with the 10-year, but I think you're still a lot better off than, you know, 2020 is when this stuff is really supposed to happen. I wanted to say some other words, but
Shit's gonna We're good with that.
We understand that.
there are a lot of factors that in 2020 are going to conspire, I think, to cause higher costs in the electric industry. Capacity is going to get retired. Capacity is going to get redispatched so that coal isn't run as much year-round. More natural gas, which is more expensive than coal, is going to get operated. There's going to be more renewables put on the system, which are going to be higher cost than the coal. Those are all things that are going to cause, I hate to use the word I think, but in my professional opinion, what happens here isn't this nice steady escalation. You're going to see markets do this. There's going to be a step function there that's going to raise costs for everybody. And I think having a 10-year fixed price agreement is going to sort of mitigate a lot of those issues. And yeah, in 2025, we're going to be in this boat again, maybe. But you will have at least save that money in those 5 years between 2020 and 2024. And certainly compared to, you know, today, the money we're talking about, the difference between the MEC and the Heartland proposal, if you go that direction, or even the RDC proposal, you know, you will save that money compared to that. Any questions on these graphs? And that's the easy part of all this, okay? Believe it or not. I mean, the one complication, I think the thing I was most concerned about with the Raccoon Valley was the withdrawal of the O&M proposal. I mean, what they've done for you, I drove around, your system's in pretty good shape. I mean, I see some poles that if I was running the system, I'd replace, but
those are ours to replace.
those are yours to replace.
Yeah.
And I'd say, you know, if you were to send, yeah, there are a couple places I said, you know what, if that pole were to snap, there'd be, I was just kind of counting the customers that would be out of service, and I said, you know, and you can just tell it's, you know, it's older, and you know, if you got the money to do it, great. You know, it would improve the reliability. And they've done a good job running your system, it looks like. And the costs have been pretty low as well, compared to like if you had your own bucket truck crew.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. Now the MEC proposed their rates. I just kind of did a back of the envelope on their rate sheet compared to what you're paying RVC, and it's probably 50 to 100% higher. They're fully loaded rates. I mean, I think a bucket truck and two-man crew was, I don't have the exact numbers with me right now, but I think it was like over $400 an hour that you would pay to MEC. That's the fully loaded rate. What you're paying RVEC, if I calculated it outright, is like $45 per man and $115 for the truck. You sent that to me the other day.
Yeah, and I think it's 70 a man and 110 for the truck. Isn't that it? The latest, after we got off of our contract. The contract was the 45 and 55.
Okay, 40, all right.
Yeah.
Yep, so 70, so it works out to, if you have two men in a bucket truck, it sounds like
2 men in a truck.
2 men in a truck, it would be roughly $300 an hour to our VEC. It was $430, I think, to Mid-American.
Yeah. So the real question is, do we go back to Raccoon Valley and say, we'll give you the retainer, will you do our O&M? Right?
That's one option, I think. And I think I would definitely explore it. Based on the way these numbers were coming out, and I apologize for not, I hope this was okay on my way over here. I did stop in Denison, Iowa. Yeah, and I realize it's about an hour away. I mean, I know that's not a real viable option for you. I've known Mark Ramthen for 10 years. I knew him when he was in Indianola. I met with him and Rory, who's his line superintendent, just to explore if they would be interested in doing O&M. Now, I recognize they're probably outside the range, the radius where it would be ideal. And we just talked in generalities that would they be interested in maybe being part of a pool, I'll say, or some kind of arrangement where you could, let's maybe say the first call would be Lakeview or Walled Lake, I'll say. I'll just throw out a couple names, or Glidden maybe. And I'm just trying to identify some municipals around you that might be interested in doing this. He said they would be interested in exploring that option. And you're already part of a mutual aid program through IAMU, so if you had a major storm roll into town, you got people, if Raccoon Valley couldn't help you, for some reason, let's say they're fixing their own system, you could already call on those other municipals. This would be more for just regular O&M though. I tried to get a hold of Bill Lenners, who's the line superintendent in Lakeview. He was on vacation this week and I didn't catch him on Friday.
Now, I, in the past, have not talked directly to Bill,
Okay,
but the mayor and the city administrator have said no.
they have, okay.
Yeah, because
All right.
I did
Okay.
track that down with Lakeview.
Okay.
Now, maybe if somebody else is willing to go in with it, and see, Glidden, Raccoon Valley does Gliddens.
Okay, do they do, all right.
Yeah.
So they're not a viable
And
option.
Wall Lake, I don't think has an overhead. I'm not sure who's doing their overhead right now, if not Lakeview.
Yeah, and I was given the name of their superintendent by Denison. I called him, he didn't return my call today, so like I said, this is just that process. If Raccoon Valley would do it for the retainer, if they would agree to the retainer, and it would help mend fences, I'll say, and help to get things resolved, I think they've done a good job. I mean, as I said, I've driven around, they seem to be very responsive. I think they would be the viable O&M provider. I still think they'd be the most viable O&M provider for you, even with that retainer. I guess, yeah, you could sign the MEC agreement. If you want to pay $50,000. I mean, the way I look at it is, yeah, you do the MEC agreement, you're going to be paying an extra $60,000 a year compared to Heartland. You're paying $25,000 more than you're paying Raccoon Valley right now. And for that, you have the privilege of being able to call on them for O&M and pay 50% more than your currently hourly rates that you're paying Raccoon Valley.
It is disappointing. They certainly seemed interested.
And like I said, and maybe their true interest was to buy the system.
Well, I think that's probably
And like I said, that's
reasonable
a little
to
bit
think.
beyond my scope. I mean, yes, their retail rates are lower, but if you go with Heartland, you maybe save $20,000, $30,000 a year. They may put you in a position where you could look at a slight retail rate decrease, or at least holding the line for a number of years, accumulating some reserves. Use those reserves to fix some of these critical poles. Use the money to pay the $6,000 retainer. And I would say too, even with, I did the evaluation for you about a month ago and showed you, all right, even paying the retainer with Heartland compared to the RVC, it's still a viable, it's still lower than staying with Raccoon Valley, or certainly lower than going to Mid-America. So, if Lakeview's not interested, I have a call into the guy at Wall Lake and see if he'd be interested. Denison said, he said their concerns would be mostly just, hey, we got to take care of our customers if something happens here. I mean, I saw some of the cornfields got blown over down there. And so, you know, windstorm rolls through, they're gonna take care of their own first.
Yeah, and we got the same windstorm. We get a lot of the same windstorms from them.
Seems to be the
Same
tracking
path,
that way,
yeah.
yeah.
So that, I mean, it's not all bad. I wish we weren't surrounded by Mid-American customers up here.
Yeah.
So it's definitely sound like Heartland's the best longer-term deal, short-term or longer-term deal.
Right.
And do you think the attorneys can deal with the three legal issues,
Yes.
I'll call them, effectively? It's your professional opinion that those can be dealt with and still protect
Right.
the city?
Based on my conversation with Steve Nagel, I can't remember, it's something like that, this is the last name. And he's a colleague of Ivan's. Ivan's gone for a couple of weeks and Ivan's still overseeing what's going on here and drafted they'll provide a letter here in the next 2 days. It'll be signed by both Ivan and Steve. It's my belief, it's my opinion that the three issues he identified over the phone with me, I haven't seen this written down, are resolvable. And those issues they're resolvable. I think they're resolvable to Mr. Frank's satisfaction. I think in there.
I mean, based on my knowledge of it, I guess to just be clear, has he discussed any of those with the Heartland attorneys?
As of right now, no.
Okay.
I
We need to have that conversation needs to happen before we.
Right.
Okay.
Before you take action, but I did visit with John Knopshinsky, who's been my technical contact on these things, and from his perspective, it sounded like reasonable issues.
Okay.
I mean, they sounded like they could be addressed in a reasonable fashion.
Will we have verification that they've talked, that the Heartland attorneys have agreed by Wednesday night? That's our decider meeting. Or do we need to,
I will work to get that done.
okay.
If I can give you an indication by noon on Wednesday as to whether that's occurred, that be.
Is
Yeah.
that an immovable meeting? I mean,
No, we'll have to go into next week. But as long as we meet before the 22nd,
The 22nd is when the Heartland Board is meeting. And
so we could meet next week instead of Wednesday.
if you've
well,
got,
hold on though. Heartland internally wants to have a good indication
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
they
Before
need
they
to
spend
make,
time on it.
right, by the end of Friday, they need to make sure that,
But the deal breaker is we can't make a decision until we have in writing that the Heartland attorneys
Mhm.
are agreeing to what Ivan and
Right.
his associate
right.
are requiring for the contract changes.
Let me-
Can we get that done?
We can have it done by Wednesday.
well, and let's do this, John. If we need to postpone Wednesday night's meeting,
That's what I'm,
we can postpone it to Thursday night if we have to, can
Yes.
we?
Thursday would be great.
Janelle, Cindy,
I'm okay with that.
Thursday would be.
Janelle, are you okay with that?
I guess
In fact, maybe
yeah.
we should just make that decision to postpone it to Thursday
that extra
night.
day will help.
Right.
Okay.
I guess here's the, I mean, I guess, let me ask the question, if, are you comfortable with the economics of the Heartland proposal? I mean, aside, let me just ask,
Officially, yes.
without regard,
Yeah.
and recognizing that, yes,
Right.
we have to have an agreement drafted,
And we have to pull in somebody to do our O&M.
and we have to
Right.
pull in somebody to do our O&M. Now, I would also say too, I haven't, because of the late date at which I realized that MEC's proposal was not viable for O&M, I have a couple of clients in Nebraska that have actually contracted with line contractors, basically with a
Freelance
construction
agencies.
contractors. Now, one question Dennison had: if you have a fuse blowout, like a fuse cut out, does Raccoon Valley take care of that? Okay, they do take care of
Yeah.
those. Okay,
Yeah.
and they come out of Glidden to do that, or do
Or
they,
SAC, wherever the nearest crew is that's on call that
okay,
night.
so they do take care of those.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have that happen very often, based on the
No, but we've had 2 calls in August, so.
Yeah, so
right from that windstorm that came through, right?
But not the first one, the second one was, but,
Okay.
so yeah,
Okay, I misunderstood. For some reason, I thought you had a local guy that did that, but
well, not the fuses.
What
okay.
does Paul do?
Paul does most of the really secondary stuff.
He doesn't work on any high volt primary? Okay.
No, he
All right.
works on no primary, mostly just
Meters, change
meters,
outs?
poles to the house.
Okay, service drops, those
Yeah,
kinds of things?
yeah.
Do
Okay.
this too, John. Go back to Mid-America and ask them if we're having difficulty finding an O&M provider, if they're willing to do it, and if they would consider
Okay,
doing it at a more reasonable rate.
I
It's
would do
worth
that.
asking.
I think that's worth asking as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, I do
If
think.
it comes through you, I think.
Right. I'd be happy to do that. And like I said, I'm gonna try to get in touch with Walt Lake too. Like I said, the guy, I actually kind of know the guy. His name is, I got it written down out there. I'm horrible.
I don't know who their new guy
Yeah,
is.
he came
Yeah.
from Sergeant Bluff, and I
Really?
and I did some work for Sergeant Bluff on the rate side for them. So I called him mid-afternoon today. He didn't call me back. I'm gonna try to reach him again tomorrow. They're 11 miles away. I mean, if they were in a position to do this, and like I said, Dennison even said, yeah, if it's something where, let's say that you had a couple blocks that you decided, hey, we want to rebuild because we have time and money and want to get it done. If it's something that could be planned out, they may be willing to do that or be on your call list. And then,
Okay,
if a major storm comes through, you still have the access to the
Mutual aid,
yeah,
yeah.
mutual aid program. Yes.
yeah.
So.
Questions? Thank
I've
you,
done a lot.
John.
I've done a lot of talking here. I know this has been a difficult process. I do appreciate your sticking with me, and I want to see this through though. And I believe that maybe it's not Lakeview, maybe it's Wall Lake, or like I said, a line contractor that you had on retainer. I have a client in central Nebraska that has a line contractor from an hour and a half away on call for storm damage.
There's a line contractor out of Council Bluffs or Omaha or somewhere that I get mail from every once in a while, and it's like, maybe that's what we need. I mean, most of the time they don't get here in less than an hour and a half anyway.
Well, we use them to rebuild some of our
Yeah. you
lines
did.
anyhow. I mean, a independent contractor, not specifically those guys, but
Yeah,
the other stuff.
I have no idea what they charge though. They probably
Their rates may be closer.
charge well.
Their rates may be closer to what the MEC rate is than to the Raccoon Valley, but I could do some investigating on those rates
That'd be helpful.
Well, and seriously, it's not been a big expense. What, in 4 years, what did I total that up? $3,500 for emergency call-in stuff?
right.
Right,
So-
but if we're going to start to rebuild replace some of those poles and that sort of thing, maybe it's,
Well, that kind of stuff, most of that kind of stuff we're gonna bid anyway, cause we're gonna do
Yeah.
that as a project at a time anyway, so. I mean, it may be a pole here and there that has to be done because it can't wait, but, and those situations arise every year when we have our
Right.
inspection, but,
Right.
so, okay.
thank you,
Don't
John.
you get a pole inspection every year from IUD or whatever it is?
Maybe.
A utility electric inspection, yeah,
Poles and what have you.
yeah, and then,
sometimes they
then we
identify-
have to have someone come in and take care of those
Yeah.
things. Usually they're not real expensive, but we've had a couple over the last 10 years, but, and are you gonna beg, borrow, and steal with Raccoon Valley and visit with them, or do you want
I guess
me
I
to
was
have
going-
that
I guess I
conversation?
was going to
or-
ask, I will take my direction from you on that regard. I would be happy to call Jim and say, I understand your concerns, and the city's been very happy with you as their O&M provider, and would like to continue that relationship if we can.
Do we do that before we decide on power provider?
Yeah, cause
Okay.
that's as important
Yeah.
as
Well,
everything
I know
else.
it's important,
Right.
his obvious question is gonna be.
If we can't get anybody to take care of that, your decision may be different.
And I will, again, try to get in touch with Wall Lake, as I said.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, a lot of times you look at this and you go, okay, if they've got just two guys in a bucket truck, if they have one line crew, you know, they're absorbing $100,000 a year in costs there probably between the labor and the amortized cost of the truck. Yeah, if they could charge you guys $500 a month to go over and look over the system and take care of things as they
Do
come.
nothing for $500 a month and then charge us when they do come over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That would help their bottom line, I would think, as well. And-
I am a little concerned though, because that city process is gonna be as difficult to get through as ours is. Because you gotta go to city council meetings, and by the time this happens,
Right.
we're past theirs again,
Right.
and
Right.
so.
It would be good.
Let's do this. Talk to MEC and talk to Raccoon Valley.
And
see-
follow up on those others and see
Yeah,
what,
Wall Lake.
yeah.
Decouple, RBC, Wall Lake. And I will try to identify some of those line contractors as well.
Okay.
And as I said, I have a couple clients in Nebraska, and so I'm a little more familiar with the line constructors that work in Nebraska, the contractors. When you've bid out some of your work in the past, who's ended up getting those bids?
Oh, what was the name of that company?
They were working in the area.
They were working for Raccoon Valley at the time, and they're out of somewhere north in North
They're
Minnesota.
No,
North
we're
Minnesota.
North and South Dakota, Minnesota, and up north.
Oh,
If you, I don't know if you could get
Start with
to,
an A? Was it?
no.
if you could.
Yeah, let me write
if
me
you
a
could-
note. I'll
yeah,
think of it.
Maybe one thing you could do that would help me out is if you could send me the names of the people who you awarded the bids to the last couple projects you've done.
It was just that one.
Oh, just the one, okay.
Yeah, it's just that one that we had, the same company, we put a new line into the concrete plant, we use the same company.
Yeah, they were out of Minnesota.
Here, just a minute.
Wednesday night, if you'd like me to be available by phone, I would be happy if there was any more questions that
Thursday.
come up. Thursday night, yeah, Thursday, we just, sorry.
Are we for sure going to Thursday night, I guess
I
is?
think so, with all this added stuff, I think we need to.
Let me double check. I know I have some with my daughter on,
But by Thursday night, John, we'll have something in writing back on the legal issues
Yes,
with
yes.
Auburn. All right.
I know I have some with my daughter at 7. Are you guys, would it be 6 o'clock again
Yeah.
on Thursday? Okay, I'll definitely be available then.
Carrie and Peterson,
There you go.
Carrie
Carrie and Peterson,
K
K-A,
R-I-A-N. I will get you a phone number tomorrow, John.
okay. Because, you know, if they have some guys locate, you know, a lot of times they have, like I said, the one I have, Kate, and I can't remember the name of the guy, Schmader, West Point, they do stuff like a couple hours away in Nebraska.
Yeah.
They have a retainer type arrangement with them, and then if something comes up, they,
Yeah, I have no
Dispatch
idea if they have
trucks.
any crews located this direction or not, but,
okay.
or would you like me to call and find those questions out?
I can
and-
call them,
Okay.
I'll call them up. And
I'll get
give
you an
me a phone
email in
number
the
and
morning.
contact name,
Yeah,
I can follow up and see if that's something. And
okay.
you know, I guess the other thing as I looked at this, you know, that kind of occurred to me is, with this kind of difference in power costs, I'd hate for the O&M, I know O&M's important, don't get me wrong. I would just hate for that to be the tail wagging the dog, because the big
Yeah.
dollars are
For the power.
the power.
Yeah.
Cost,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. I think we can figure the other piece out. So, but I'll be in touch with both of them. Raccoon Valley, Auburn, or Auburn, you're Auburn.
Wall Lake.
Mid-American Wall Lake. And then, and like I said, Dennison, and he understands the distance is an issue. He says, I don't know that they want me to have me do it. But
I don't think it's a completely terrible option. It's better than having someone come from Omaha or Minnesota.
Right.
yeah, and he would be, like I said, Mark, he couldn't put it in writing today because we met at 1 o'clock today.
It
but-
doesn't hurt to research it.
No,
to get
absolutely.
the information, so then we know.
But, you know,
Yeah.
he said, yeah, if it's a situation, well, maybe you almost have like a mini mutual aid type thing with you and Wall Lake and Lakeview and Dennison, and, you know, to where the four of you could, you know, where, especially for you guys, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you have somebody you can call, or, you know, maybe one of those guys gets some work done and calls
Yeah.
Dennison, I don't know.
Makes the communication issue really a struggle though.
Well,
But-
that'd be the next thing you'll have to
Yeah.
figure out, okay, who do you call?
How do
if
you
there's an
call them?
outage?
Yeah.
You know,
And who decides who's gonna respond, yeah.
Right.
So we'll go down that road when we have to.
right, let's see if we can get Raccoon Valley back and,
Thank you, John, very much for picking this up and helping us sort through it.
like I said, I appreciate the opportunity. I think I want to see a good solution here for you and your ratepayers. And I will, like I said, the attorney, he had another meeting to go to tomorrow. He was hoping he could still have the letter done tomorrow. I will get in touch with Heartland though and kind of convey these thoughts to their attorney and see if these are going to be deal breakers, maybe before even the letter comes out. So
Okay, okay.
we'll get something ready by Thursday.
Yeah, that might be the, yeah.
Won't that work?
Yeah, I think so. One of the other concerns I have is with our Corn Belt Raccoon Valley contract, we have been precluded from doing any not energy efficiency, but demand peak control
Right.
on our side of the meter. I would hope that we can put something like that in some kind of an agreement.
There's nothing,
Even though we're having all requirements agreement, if we can reduce our peak and have fewer requirements, we should be allowed to do that.
there's nothing in the Heartland agreement that precludes you from putting a direct load control system or doing voluntary load control. You're not agreeing to a minimum kilowatts. You know, there's a lot of there's towns in Nebraska that if it's getting hot and loads are popping up, they sound a fire whistle and people are encouraged to turn their air conditioners.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good. Hey, that's something you can do.
That's kind of cool. I didn't know people did that.
Everybody takes cover.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's well documented.
Turn the
that,
lights on.
Take cover.
Yeah.
And it's not a continuous, I mean, it's
Yeah.
like what they do is,
Three short blasts, shut your air conditioner
Okay,
down.
so does something like that need to be in the contract though, that allows the city to?
Not that it allows, but if it's gonna preclude it,
it's not,
Right,
yeah, it's
right.
not preclude, you're not.
Yeah.
Sometimes those things that aren't stated in a contract can come back and bite you.
well, and so maybe somehow we do need to
Yeah.
address that, because, and we've talked about,
Great idea in some.
you know, some grant money out there to maybe put some solar on
Yeah,
and,
yeah, and there's certainly nothing that would preclude you as a utility from, you know, if end use customers wanted to put a solar panel in, there's nothing.
Okay, so you're gonna put that, make a note, put that in there.
She's demanding.
Yeah, I'm on demand. Demand.
Because in reality, you know, anything you can do to minimize your peaks is gonna
saves
save them.
everybody
Well,
money.
Saves Heartland money, because
Yeah.
they don't have to carry as much capacity
Right.
to serve your needs.
Right.
I mean, where they're making the money is on the energy and then on the capacity the other 11 months of the year. It isn't really very cost effective to do it in October when your loads are down.
Yeah.
But, you know, a few hours in August when loads are through the roof can end up saving you guys some money and saves them money as well.
Okay, John,
All
thank
right.
you. We've got a group here who's been waiting.
I
for other
apologize.
issues.
That's all right.
Isn't this-
Don't apologize, this is big stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you all again, and I will make these phone calls, and if you get that contact information,
will.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it, everybody.
Drive careful going home.
Yeah, I'm. I was gone. I left Tuesday and didn't get home till Sunday because I had some personal stuff out in Colorado I had to do, and it'd be nice to sleep in my own bed tonight. That's for sure. Thank you all. I'll be talking.
You've got a bag over here,
Here's
John.
back over
Yeah, I would have caught that eventually.
30 miles down the road.
Yeah, that-
Well, I just about walked out without my presentations this morning, and I went,
Okay,
those kind of lights. So, thank you.
next on the agenda is hometown pride, Will
Thank you.
Wallace.
I'll be brief, because I know you've been here for a while, so I don't have one for everyone, but I figure you guys can share. And I'm Chloe Wallace. I'm the Executive Director at Sac Economic and Tourism Development. And today I just kind of want to talk to you, let you know, first of all, on September 30th at 7 p.m. we're having a county meeting at the Wall Lake Community Center about this Hometown Pride program where Jerry Schnepp, the executive director from Keep Iowa Beautiful, and then Tom Grew from Pocahontas County, who Pocahontas County has been with this program for 3 years now, will be there to talk about this program. So the Hometown Pride program is a program that kind of brings the community together more. It's with grants, but at the same time, Pocahontas County has talked about how they're seeing more leadership, more involvement in the communities coming together just in the past 3 years. Being from Sac County and now having moved back, when I was first presented this program, I thought it was something really great. I didn't know if it is something for us or not, but I guess we will decide eventually after our meeting, kind of getting a feel of what every town thinks of it. What would happen is Sac County would bring in a coach from outside of the county, and they would visit each town in Sac County and kind of pick out the weaknesses and strengths and what you have to work on overall. And after that, then there'd be a group of like 6 or 8 people from Auburn in each community that would meet every month with this coach and talk about different stuff that you feel like you want to work on as well. Then they have a complete database, Keep Iowa Beautiful does, of grants that you can apply for. I know Pocahontas County so far in February, they applied for, I think about, they applied for, I want to say 60 grants and got 55 of the 60, with a total of about $450,000 for Pocahontas County alone.
Grants through Keep Iowa
Yes,
Beautiful?
their database that they have. And they have, I mean, it's just...
But the funding sources for the grants were from a variety
Right,
of
from a
different...
variety of different, right. Exactly. They've done, I mean, every town has just benefited from this, and he says that, you know, it's getting the kids more involved. You're not only being able to do in community, but also with your rural settings with a lot of, like farmsteads being abandoned, you're able to work on those. I'm hoping like the conservation, working with them as well. They've been working, I know, I was talking to the DNR and they said this past month that they're actually going to be helping them with something. So it's just nice kind of getting everyone working together. I know Auburn met with someone.
Gilmore
City.
It was at Gilmore City.
We already know one of our problems.
Yeah.
They don't paint them.
Yeah, so
We found that out. didn't
yeah,
we?
we did. That was funny. So yeah, and that's another beneficial thing is doing the first impressions with other communities. So I guess today is I just kind of wanted to get the word out about this and want to invite you guys to the community meeting on the 30th. And if you have any
You
questions.
didn't say a time.
Oh, it was 7 p.m.
And as I understand it, they're doing it a little bit differently than Gilmore City. You're doing a county-wide hometown pride.
Yeah, and Pocahontas County, that's what they're doing too.
Oh, okay.
They do, but each community, I mean, they have their own identity, of course, and what they want to focus on. And I know they absolutely love their coach, and that's the one thing beginning with this program that you'd really want to put a lot of focus in is finding that good coach, because I know they're really happy with their coach that they have. She's very helpful.
Yeah, we met.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, she's very helpful for each community, but then as a county as a whole and helping Tom out with that whole aspect, so.
And the county is putting some money into this or not?
Yeah, I've talked to the supervisors and they are definitely for this, and they will be at the meeting too, so if you have any questions to ask them. And again, Tom will be there and Jerry too, so they'll be definitely good people to have there. And Tom will just talk about the success they've been having with the program and how they've used it. I know they've used it in many different ways. And I also talked to Fremont County, and they said this is just a great thing because for years they've always, you know, drawn up plans to change stuff or improve stuff throughout each town, but it's just always been sitting there. In this program, you know, they've seen it, stuff move forward, you know, fast, and, you know, it's actually making progress, so.
How long has Pocahontas County been doing this?
They're in their third year now, and it's a program that you can go up to 5 years with. So, and they said, and even Tom said, they said it's the best program that they, or the best thing that they've done for the county. And I've seen more leadership come forward and just more volunteers too, so.
So you're just here to invite us and looking
Yep,
for some
and
sort
just
of,
wanted you guys to
indication of
be informed.
interest?
Mhm.
And is that the community building in Holy?
Yep, at the community building. It's gonna be a really short meeting. Tom and Jared are really gonna do all the talking, because, I mean, they obviously know more about the program than I do, and they've been involved with it, so, it'll be very informative. Any questions, or?
I agree, I should live that long, shouldn't I?
Should. Well, thank you for your time very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, thank you for waiting.
I should have introduced you. I was kind of busy doing
No,
some other
you're
things.
fine.
Council that hasn't met Chloe before. Chloe is the new director for our SETD and has been with us since April. She took Shirley's spot and is doing a wonderful job for us. So,
So this is an effort that will be coordinated through SETD or?
Mhm.
yeah,
Yes.
it'll be part of her job.
Okay, thank you. Fall City Cleanup Day.
Do you want to do another one, and do you want to do a full-blown one, or do you just want to do,
This is similar to the spring cleanup day.
right,
So it just allows people to put,
whatever they want out for one day to have it picked up? Except for, we took the recycling stuff and had it all delivered to the shop. I don't know if there'll be as much, or if it's, I haven't called the recycling company to find out if they're willing to come back again.
do they need a minimum
No,
load?
they didn't, but they had a truckload when they left here, didn't they?
What do you think, King Recycler? You know everybody's bad stove in town.
Well, but since then, since we did this
Yeah.
with this company, we've got another gentleman who stepped up to take those appliances.
Oh, good.
And Jerry's had a couple of them dropped off at the shop when they shouldn't have been, but
Oh,
Well, so that sounds like an effort that we should.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you
continue.
think?
I mean,
Okay.
this guy here, he lives in Litterdale. It's actually the guy who runs the garbage truck now.
Oh, yeah.
I think we need another cleanup day, I think it's just a
I do
good,
too.
good thing
I mean,
for
we had
people,
some
for the
issues
residents,
with
yeah.
once a year, stuff got a little ridiculous, you know, some piles. I think we need to, that's why we, thought about the twice a year thing. We allowed it with our contract, so I don't see why we shouldn't take advantage of it.
Right.
Let's just set it in October and,
What kind of materials can we get rid of then? Paint cans and so forth, or non-combustible?
That was mostly appliances. The Litterdale man is
Appliances,
mostly appliances, right? It's
Yeah.
not used paint or,
Yeah, it's not all that extra stuff.
Yeah, we don't have that hazmat.
no, we don't have.
But you can start taking the hazmat stuff to the landfill. It'll be in the next newsletter,
I think I read that somewhere also.
probably in the
So-
paper.
so.
What's the dates, Nancy, in October?
The last Wednesday is the 29th. The Wednesday
You want it
before that is the
later or a little
22nd.
earlier?
Maybe we should set trick or treat first.
When's Halloween?
On the 31st, but that's a Friday, Janelle,
Maybe we need to go into November.
after Halloween.
For cleanup?
Yeah,
That's pretty
No,
cold.
no.
Yeah.
Not unless you wanna help
I'd
do
say
that in the
mid,
snow.
what about
No.
mid-October? I mean, like
That's
a
what I-
week
Well,
or two
we-
before that.
before we've waited until November to, after Halloween so people can put their pumpkins in.
Oh,
Yeah,
But they can go to the yard waste site. The
yeah.
pumpkins really shouldn't go in the
Yeah,
garbage
pumpkins
anyway.
go
Go in the garbage.
Down there to begin with.
That's would be nice to wait till after all.
I think cold's coming faster this year.
yeah, I do too.
Is it too crazy to do it the 29th?
No, I just have to let the garbage hauler know that we're doing it.
it.
And they don't care as long as we do it on regular garbage
Just make
day.
sure. Well, you get your
What
spot
do
in
you
the repair
think,
shop.
guys?
Yeah, well, whenever everybody's got their garden stuff or whatever they, I don't know.
Yeah, but the garden stuff,
Garden
Be
stuff
cleaned up
goes
by
down
that
there
time.
anyway.
Yeah.
but them salads not.
Yeah.
I'd say mid-October would be.
Okay, what's the
You've
Wednesday
got the
before?
1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th.
22nd.
22nd.
Yeah.
Okay. And
October
we'll-
22.
I won't call the recycling company, but we will take appliances.
Okay.
Work for you?
Do the appliances go behind the shop or
Yeah, we'll do that
you'll work
again,
out the
Yeah.
procedures?
if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
That or your driveway.
Don't say that.
Might be surprised when it ends up there.
I've had a few things dropped off from my place.
Ooh.
But then Bertie's got an empty lot back there too, I can bring it up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any,
Just mow around the verdi.
That's right.
I need a motion on that?
No,
Okay, October 20, yeah. Okay, approve the resolution 1411, street finance report.
Is there anything particularly unusual about the report or anything
No.
you want to highlight?
No.
Lowlight?
all it really does is account for the money the state sends us as revenue and says, here's how we spent it. But you'll see that we don't spend a great deal on road use tax money, and the balance has to agree with the balance in the fund, so, and it does.
I'd make a motion to approve resolution 1411, the street finance report.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Jane,
Yay.
Justin,
Aye.
that was a yay, nay, or? I'm hard of hearing.
Yay.
Yay, okay.
Yes.
All right, Finley,
Yes.
Janelle King,
Yep.
and Randy's absent. Motion carried.
Just a little note, the state makes you guys approve the street finance report, but the big annual finance report, they don't care. It's one of those odd things.
Okay, set trick or treat day. The last Friday in October, there is no football game, according to the schedule I have.
It's October 31st is the Friday.
Yeah, that's the holiday.
And I was concerned that there may be a football game that
Oh, I
night,
see.
but there's not. So
Okay.
we usually do 5 to 7 p.m.
And we usually do it on the 31st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We usually do, but you guys have always set that date yourselves, so is that what you want to
Let's just
do?
keep it the 31st.
Do her.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And lights on, you know, if they want trick-or-treaters, their lights on.
Okay, October 31, right?
Yep.
Don't need a motion on that?
No.
Okay. Approve the propane contract, Al's Corner, $1.49.9, and Grease Company, $1.49.9. But they want a prepayment also.
So, Al's Corner.
Yep,
How much do you contract for?
about 3,500.
I just-
We always want to contract for more than we need, because a lot of times the cost difference is a lot higher.
I'd make a motion to approve Al's Corner as the provider of the LP contract.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Jane, second by Cindy to approve Al's Corner. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we have a resolution 1412.
There's nothing binding in this, it's just saying that we're communicating to our citizens the value of their city.
And we're doing this because the league says this is what.
It's City Week, the first week of October.
I see.
And we haven't really planned any other events, but I thought we're kind of tied up in a lot of other things, but I thought this was a simple one that can go in the newsletter to help us celebrate.
I'd make a motion that we approve resolution 1412.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jane, second by Janelle. Roll call vote again. Jane?
A. Yay.
Yes. Thumbs up.
All
Works
right.
for me.
Cindy?
Yes.
Janelle?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Motion carried. Randy was absent, is absent. Okay. Library renovation, not revocation.
Do you just need a motion on this, Gertie, or is there a letter that we direct Nancy to write, or how do you want to handle it?
What I'd like to have you do is make a motion to support the project and the application of the grant. Stop short of supporting it with funding until they actually have their plan completed. There isn't enough of a plan for you guys to complete tonight, but they're developing a plan so that they can apply for a foundation grant. And because we don't have another meeting before the grant's due, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, it's renovations for the library.
So we're
I'll
asking
make-
for a motion to support
This
this?
grant.
Okay.
I'd make that such a motion.
Okay, motion by Jane, second by
Second.
Justin. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, two more. Storm cleanup. Okay, update on that. Jerry, you got something on that?
What storm?
What happened?
It's over, it's cleaned up, and the evidence is gone.
You weren't in Mexico either, you should know what happened.
Well, I was here, but I started cleaning up and we got pretty well cleaned up.
I drove around and I only found one damage in town. A branch I found down on Geyer's house knocked the gutter off. That's the only damage that I could see.
To houses, you mean?
To properties.
Yeah, property, buildings.
Well, Jerry was out there right after the storm passed, and he was out there. I just want to say thanks, and I mean it.
Do we need to pass a resolution for Jerry to be able to call Matt?
A resolution?
I can direct him through that too.
You can. Okay.
I think when there's storm damage.
You just gotta get somebody in there to get something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, public forum, opportunity for citizens to speak up. Who's first?
I guess that'd be me. Well, I mean, I think some of you realize that we have water in our basement again. You know, so we just,
We have an issue with the storm sewers again. Anytime our sump pump pumps water, the city has a problem. We just want to know, we want it taken care of. There's also a big dip in the street. I think you've seen it there. It's getting larger and it's right in line with our septic.
well, it's just lying with the city's main sewers.
Yeah.
The new sewer, the newest one put in, and then coming out from us.
Mhm.
Well, the whole town was flooded when it rained that.
Yeah, but we never have problem until the storm sewers are blocked with tree roots or whatever. Then, because we're the lowest area in town and all the storm sewer water comes back. And if the drains aren't working in town, we get it. I mean, enough is enough. We've had,
We got $3,000 damage in our basement.
yeah.
Have storm sewers been cleaned up in Auburn before?
One time they were cleaned up, what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, just up by us.
Yeah.
Little line.
Well, have you had any since then until this big
Just
rain?
this time, yeah.
Just this time, but our
See, our
sump pump.
pump was pumping this spring already.
Yeah, and we figured something's not quite right, and then we get this heavy rain. Now we're supposed to get more heavy rain within the next
Tomorrow night.
24 hours. I mean, we thought we had the problem
Did the power,
solved.
when did the power go off? Did it come in after the power
It
went
was
off?
after that.
It was after that. It has to
'Cause
wait
we were
till
in the
that water,
basement.
till the drains go down and stuff, and then we pump everything.
And what you suggested is that your pump is actually pumping it back to
It's
Bob's
just,
basement?
yeah, it's just
Or
recycling.
When
The
Bob's,
the last time this was fixed, we were cycling water from everybody, it was just circling around.
Yeah,
I
and
see.
they poured dye in one storm drain, and our sump pump pumped it out. I mean, you know, something's wrong. It needs to be fixed.
I did talk to Nancy about cleaning that area out again. I don't know how expensive a proposition that is, or if it's possible to do that. What do you think? It was,
The storm sewers, were they replaced or was it just the water mains there?
Pardon me?
The storm sewers, were they replaced? So they're probably the old clay storm
Well, the
sewers.
clay ones are the old ones is the storm, and then they
That's
get
what
the
I
new.
mean.
See, they switched from, we moved to town, they switched from the old sanitary system into that became the storm sewer.
Yeah,
And the new one became the sanitary.
Right.
but
That's
they're
when we-
basically all
'Cause we
clay
moved into
pipe.
town right at that point when that
Yeah.
was getting switched.
I mean,
say that
Well,
again, Dick?
the storm sewers have always been there
right.
before,
But then they added the old sewer system to it, or?
Well, it was all together then, wasn't it? Was that
Yeah.
the deal? Everything went through the
Everybody had septic tanks.
system. Everything drained into that system and then it went down the creek.
yeah.
Where this
Yeah.
new system goes out to the leach field, right? Like that would.
Well, that's your sanitary system.
Right,
Right.
It goes out to the lagoons.
right, but the
The
original
storm
system.
systems still go down to the dump and out the,
Right,
Warren's.
right. But see, that was all hooked together at one time, wasn't it? The septic systems and storm all
Well-
together.
Kinda.
Because that's, like I said, now they're, all our storm. Because when
Yeah,
we
because
switched
we
from,
waited, they wanted us to put what do you call that, septic tank in, and they said, well, if we waited, we would be able to,
it took,
Sanitary.
Yeah.
yeah, to hook into the sanitary sewer, so
Yeah,
we
see, 'cause
waited.
we got a line comes out, one goes to the storm sewer,
Well-
And one goes
to
to
the
the
septic.
septic.
Or the,
that home should have had a septic tank system prior to our doing the sanitary sewer.
well, so
Like we had,
we moved in there and it was right at that time when we could switch right to the
no,
new
Right,
system.
right to the new system.
So
but you probably had a septic tank somewhere.
No,
No,
we
well,
weren't
I don't know if there was when Aunt Mary, see, because there was no bathroom in the house.
moving. Yeah,
Oh,
So it wasn't.
Okay.
see,
See, that was the first bathroom was in the house when we moved in.
all right.
but,
If you
we're,
had a bathroom, you should have had a septic tank
Well, her
system.
bathroom was the outhouse in the alley, so
Okay.
that
yeah.
was,
But, we can't keep going through this constantly, and that's why we decided to go ahead and finish the basement, because we put the sump pump in, and they cleaned everything out, and now we've had damages, the third time, third time?
last time.
Is it coming up through your floor drain?
No,
Or
it's coming back from around the water, just get
Because-
from the ground?
from the groundwater,
It comes back in
See,
through
my
the storm.
sump pump is set, and like I said, I got tile around the house, and my sump pump sits about 3 inches up, so when it's pumping, I basically got water completely around my foundation.
Yeah,
Because I set it
and
that way,
we shouldn't
so,
have that.
so the water could still go down the drain when it's working.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when I'm pumping water, it ain't working right,
Yeah,
because after they cleaned it, we never.
Is your
pumped
sump
it.
up, you pump outside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
So you
within the next couple of weeks, we're gonna be installing
put
one
one
in
in the house.
the basement too,
Just for a secondary.
for a secondary, because, we can't keep going through this all the time. It's
Well,
ruined,
there's a lot of
it's ruined
groundwater on the
everything.
east side of town. A lot of homes on the west side of town don't even have sump pumps.
Mine doesn't have one, and this storm was the first time all year I've had water in my basement.
Where you live
And
now?
where I live now, I don't have a sump
Well,
pump.
where I used
But
to
this is the
live,
first.
that water always came in.
Yeah. This is the first time all year I've actually had
I know
water
Bobby-
come in, and I know when you guys
Bobby-
had your last issue, since then, I haven't had water.
Right.
'Cause that's
But
what
now
And
you-
now that I'm selling my house, this is a great thing, that I got freaking water
Yeah.
coming in.
But that doesn't,
Yeah,
And,
see that,
you know,
see
it
that
was-
that one time, when Danny, you know, they were pumping water out, we were pumping water, it was basically, we were just, it seemed like we were circulating it. And then the first time they cleaned it up to by the park corner, and that got rid of Danny's problem, but it didn't get rid of
Mars.
ours.
So then they came back, they cleaned it farther up.
Cleaned it
We
up
didn't
the
have
rest.
we haven't had a problem for 3 years. Now all of a sudden,
So did anybody else on your block have problems?
Well, I know.
There was water
There
in
was water in
Grandma's
Bobby's,
basement.
yeah.
yeah.
Bobby had water, his was wet, and then you said.
I got, yeah, I
I mean, I
got a
don't know,
little
if you're
trickle
talking
coming
Paul
in.
and them, did they have water?
Paula
Jane.
and Larry
Did you-
did not have
Jane.
water in there.
Do you have a sump pump in that basement? No.
We did have the drain, when we did all the renovations, we had the drain cleaned out in the brick part, of course.
Well, I know Josh Thurman had water.
Yeah.
I talked to
They-
Warren Dean and he said they are on a different line, like, than us. A storm sewer line. Cause I asked him about it, cause he would know, and he said they were on a totally different line
And
than
Janelle
us.
had water too.
And Mom's house had water, but again, there's no sump pump there.
Oh, is that how
Mom and Dad's always pumped water. When we had a drought last year, it pumped water.
Oh, really?
I say we've
Yeah,
had
ours never
just
kicked in
about
at
3
all.
years of drought, guys, if
They
you haven't
got
had water for
former
3
drain
years.
Throughout the whole thing,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
automatically takes it in there, which is good, but.
See, there wasn't no, when I did our basement, so we put that on, you know, whole basement underneath that back, what, 35 years ago or whatever it was. And there was no
What does it
such thing as
cost?
former
Is that
drain.
the
Yeah.
You know what it cost the
reluctance
last
to
time?
cost to, let's clean out the storm drain up there
It
again?
probably cost $2,500.
What?
But I,
Who do you get to do it, like you?
No,
Lindell.
Rehab Systems out of Cherokee.
Yeah, Lindell.
isn't that kinda important for the city to keep the infrastructure like that going? I mean, if you want people to come into town and buy these homes and raise their families and stuff, they're not gonna wanna spend all this money redoing their basement and then to find out that the storm sewers are closed and they're gonna back up.
They did or not,
I mean-
I haven't seen them.
We've lived here 37 years and, I mean, enough
was
is
an annual
enough.
thing for
I'm
us.
done.
I don't know if you need a motion or what you need.
That's it, just direction on,
Yeah,
this direction?
yeah,
that's
just
it,
do it.
address it, yeah.
Yeah, let's,
Fix it.
Jerry, call whoever you, not Ghostbusters, but call whoever you need to call. And at least have it done. What about reminding people that digging out those storm drains? I know I'm guilty of, I've got a couple of storm drains there at
Yeah.
Grandma's that just about have a dirt and.
Mine's so plugged on our
They-
corner,
they-
it'll never get dug out.
And they need to be cleaned out in town. All of them need to be cleaned out. Down by my son's, where he's living, I mean, you can't even see in it. It's growing walnut
Does the
trees
water
out of
going in
it.
it?
What?
The water's going down?
No, the water does not go down it.
I don't see any water standing there.
Well, he got water in his basement. It all came and went in Terry's basement there.
I know Thulin's is bad on that corner. It always sits there
Yeah.
a long time.
Red redid that this year,
Who did?
Red.
Oh, she's talking about
No,
Oh, you're talking
uh,
this end,
yeah.
okay.
Old
Another-
Newlands, yeah.
down by
Too many
where I
Thulins.
live, yeah.
I mean, can't we kind of make that a community project, you know, let's get the drains cleaned out and then the drains that are on these people's property or whatever, try and help maintain them and keep them clean.
Well, ours is so plugged, you're never gonna get something through there unless, I don't know how you're gonna auger it out.
Yeah,
It is
It's
so
just-
tight.
Jerry, can you do kind of a quick and dirty assessment for us of the storm drains and come back, not Thursday, but next month and give us kind of what you think best practice would be, what, you know, if you need help to do that, or if it's something that gets,
Biggest thing is,
People need to rake up their
That's
lawns.
just what I was
Yes.
just gonna
Yeah.
say.
They don't, they
And
leave it
that's-
up.
That's
I mean,
part of it, yeah. They
They
blow the
don't-
grass on the street and they, you
That's
know.
what
Well, that's what
Bobby
plugged up
Thune does.
ours.
If he does do any leaves, he takes it down to the damn drain.
Yeah, see, and
Yeah.
that's
that's
the
what
kid that
plugged it
lives up
off.
there that works for
Well,
Tanner.
is
I
it
don't know, is
the
it
individual
blows it all
owner's
right out of the
responsibility?
street. Well, the
Put
rains,
it in
it
the
washes
newsletter.
it down
Hey,
to the
Back to the
drains.
drain, yeah.
Do what you can do to clean it out.
Yeah, the thing is, you know, you can clean them out and then a month or 2 months later, they can have a bunch of crap in them again. And depending on if you get a good rain, you'll get crap in them again. And
But Jerry,
Yeah.
I know I've got a couple that, it's no excuse why I haven't cleaned it out, but they've got broken pieces, you know, somebody's hit them with a loader or something, or something's hit them, so
the
the
cover,
the cover is broken.
Yeah.
That cast iron, whatever it is, and, you know, that's letting a whole lot more go down that
Larger
drain than
debris,
it should.
yeah.
Well, yeah, Red took that one and put like that pipe on it, like a
Yeah.
fountain.
Tile, yeah,
Yeah.
tile intake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the one, I got two of them on mine. The dome one, that one's got a couple broken
Mine,
down deals, but the flat one in the corner, that one's, I mean,
easy to clean off.
always good, and I try to keep that thing under the sidewalk cleaned out and
So I
stuff.
mean, is there a way we could get some new covers for that? I don't know what I'm saying in terms of extraordinary cost, but.
Oh, I can get covered for all of them.
Okay.
That's another thing in the newsletters, to encourage people to rake their yards, because it just plugs up storm drains.
clean the
Yeah.
storm drains.
Yes.
Clean up their yards, don't let all the debris lay around. I mean, that people don't pick up sticks or anything, and when we get a heavy rain, they just.
They leave them lay out in the street till they get all broken up and
Yeah,
sticks. I've
and
seen
then
that.
the rain washes them down to
Couple
the
of big
storm.
ones broke off in Naples.
They just throw them out in the street and wait till
Street
they're all
side
run
of the
over and then.
sidewalk that they were in the
Yeah.
yard.
Same
He
way
said,
like
"I'm not
with
cleaning
the
them up,
walnuts
that's
too,
his job."
you know? Those are dangerous.
After I've got my walnut
Walnut
picker upper
fall to the
thingy,
dump.
I'm good to go.
Me too.
Christ.
I'll stay on top of
Yeah,
those
they
and
got
we'll
like
three,
those
5 gallon
cement
buckets.
I just
Yeah,
put
I
it in
picked
there
up all
for
those
people
little
to mow into the
ones.
driveway or.
I haven't done that in a while.
Broken, I didn't realize it when I was cleaning up.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a cylinder
I
and
need to
you,
get back up
roll
there.
I think
it
we have
Some
one.
people just need to get
The
over
top,
their ass.
it-
It's like a spring-loaded thing,
Oh,
and
really?
it'll fit over them.
I'll show you.
Yeah, I got
Baumgart's
it.
It's
has
a,
it.
Never
Yeah.
heard
no,
of it.
Baumgarts don't have them.
They don't, I thought it was.
Ace Hardware.
Ace Hardware.
Oh,
Ace Hardware.
okay. Yeah,
Never
that's
heard
right.
They're called a walnut weasel.
Yes,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, we've got two of them at our house.
Yeah,
We
we have
had
a big
two
one
last
and a
year. We
small
get
one.
one to our
Pick up
daughter and
apples.
because they got a
They're
big
just, they're
walnut
great.
tree.
Yeah, well, you don't have to
Well, the
rake
one
them
we
up,
got
you
this
just.
year,
You
that's
got one
sold.
for acorns? I got an acorn tree.
They won't
up there.
pick up
Oh my
acorns.
God.
Well, they will, I think,
Thing's
if you
terrible.
just use it for acorns. Our problem is you use it for apples
And then it
and
gets
nuts,
bent a
and
little
then them
bit.
things get
Yeah,
bent out,
yeah.
and then they won't stay
It
in there.
might work. I gotta
If you
I
get one and that's all you use it for, I think you'd be all right.
Weasel
You know,
around.
wires are plenty, you know.
Between my house and that
So,
rat house.
I mean,
Terrible.
all we want,
Yeah.
we want to see if we can get these storm drains open so that, I mean,
Okay,
I
so-
realize it's been an exceptional wet year. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Compared to what we got last year.
yeah.
So Nancy, do you need more than just asking Jerry to clean this storm drain out there, up there in their region? And a reminder in the newsletter for homeowners to clean the drains out. And Jerry's gonna get me a couple new caps for mine. I know I need one down here, and I need one across from the park.
Well, up there.
Jerry, that kid that you have help mow, could you put him on a drain detail or? no?
He's off to college.
Oh, okay.
What about Larry?
Good idea, though.
He's mowing.
Who?
Larry's mowing now.
Probably that'd be a lot of hard work though, for
Yeah,
him to clean
he's-
out the drain.
And
Because
Jerry
that,
has-
the
Jerry
tile
has
that runs
back
under the
trouble
sidewalks
Yeah.
are plugged too.
Or Larry
The
has
ones underneath the
back trouble.
sidewalks,
Yeah.
that's what's
Excuse me.
plugged.
Yeah,
That's where it
up
is
at
at
Cooley's.
line. Yeah, it's just tighter than I've tried. I went down, I thought, oh my God.
Yeah, see, I think Craig's tried to clean that one out. It's just, you know, you almost need an auger. It's just so packed in there.
Jerry, would you tell us next month that, I mean, I only need I just want an assessment of how many really bad ones we have. I mean, ones where the homeowner, like,
Neglected
old,
ones. I mean,
old,
just
old
neglected
heavy,
drains.
yeah, you know, the ones that really need more, heavy-duty labor to open up. Those are the ones I'm interested, I mean, that maybe the city could help with. You don't have to do all of the drains, just the bad ones. Okay. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary, did you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. Public Works.
I won't be here Tuesday or Wednesday, I got meetings both days.
City Clerk.
I gave you a list in your packet of my schedule for the next 3 weeks. I've just kinda got some busy things that I won't always be here, so that, you have that with you. Since we do not have a meeting Wednesday night now, the league meeting is Wednesday night at the Cattle Company in Sac City for anybody that may want to go.
And what
Who's
was that
sponsoring
topic
it?
again?
Do you have any idea what the program is? I don't
Haven't
either.
heard.
It's a
Yeah.
Sac County thing.
I haven't even gotten an invitation about that.
So I don't know, wonder if whoever's,
Same
is it Sac City doing it or is someone else?
It says it's hosted by Sac City.
Sac City? I'll call him tomorrow.
Yeah, call Adam and see what he's doing.
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. I haven't either.
Yeah, it is hosted by Sac City.
So I don't know what the program is.
All right, we have to eat here.
We'll see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
There's some more up in the hallway right here, Cindy.
Oh, them? Okay. I probably have one.
Oh, by the way,
Or in the
you need to
library.
get this updated for next year.
That's around.
Okay, Mayor
It's like
and
a
council,
November
lots of
thing,
different
but-
meetings here lately. Any council people been to meetings?
I had the Sac County landfill meeting. I can't think that we decided to hold on remodeling the office. They wanted to remodel the office and they decided to hold on that. And they also had an analysis done of whether or not we could lower our per ton rate at the state level, which then would have in turn possibly affected the garbage sack, the fact that we have to buy garbage sacks. It's just a percentage of recycling that we did in 1988 as compared to current. It's an outdated formula, but for many political reasons, and the biggest one being that DNR gets paid at a higher rate than if they'd update it. We're stuck with it again for a while. So we had a consultant look at it, so we're trying, but didn't go through. And I think that is it, unless you can think.
Assessments. The city assessments for next year.
They didn't talk about those.
Oh, Jeff told me they were gonna go way up. In fact, it was suggested that they're gonna double. It's not been approved, but
Well, I don't know who he's talking to
Oh,
because that
okay.
was not on the agenda.
that's what he reported to council in Linton last week. That's why I said that.
Really?
Yeah. He doesn't think it'll get approved at doubling the assessments, but they're gonna go up significantly. Which will affect our rate.
In fact, they're talking about, if anything, becoming a transfer station and phasing out the landfill portion of.
I think that's the decision that has to be made before they can decide that for sure.
Well, I hope so.
But-
It doesn't make any sense to raise assessments and then shut it down.
Yeah, he had lots of details about how that could change. The,
Oh, did you have
I
some
sat right
information?
next to him and I didn't hear any of that.
huh,
So maybe
I don't know.
maybe he sits on a committee
I
that
don't know.
talked about it.
Sorry, I don't know.
Okay, so as far as I know, there's no discussion of raising a assessment for the cities. Okay.
Then forget I said it.
Ready to adjourn.
I won't get you in trouble.
I make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Cindy and motions, Justin second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.